Everything we know about House of the Dragon, prequel to Game of Thrones. After at least one failed attempt at a Game of Thrones spin-off, a new prequel series is finally slated to premiere on Sunday, August 21, 2022, on HBO. While the cancelled spin-off was set 1,000 years before the events of Game of Thrones when Westeros descended into the First Long Night, the prequel called House of the Dragon focuses on the royal Targaryen line that came to an end with the Mad King and his daughter, Danaerys Targaryen. Given a full season order back in fall 2019, House of the Dragon released its official teaser trailer on May 5, and the fans are stoked. The trailer depicts textbook Game of Thrones violence and infighting and dragons winging their way over King's Landing, hatching from a scaly egg, and breathing fire in dungeons. We see the reigning Targaryen family fight to maintain their control of the Iron Throne. And speaking of the Iron Throne, the book-accurate version in House of the Dragon with swords surrounding it is perhaps the most exciting element for fans of Martin's works. Martin's worlds are vast and difficult to keep track of, so we've noted down everything we know about the upcoming series House of the Dragon. From the main characters and key locations to showrunners and potential plot points, we've detailed all of it in this video. Let's begin, shall we? Which era is the show set in? House of the Dragon is based on George R.R. Martin's 2018 novel Fire and Blood, which covers 7 generations of Targaryens. Set 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, the 700-page novel details the history of House Targaryen, from the arrival of Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wives in Westeros to the disastrous civil war over ascension to the throne called the Dance of the Dragons. It is this Targaryen civil war the show will focus on. What is going to be the expected plot of the show? Before we go forward, please subscribe to us. Your small click will help us in a big way to create more video. Let's continue. The show follows the beginning of the demise of the Targaryen reign as it shows the events leading up to and during this civil war. The story of the Dance of the Dragons is of a bitter war between opposing factions of the ruling Targaryen dynasty. What's the big conflict? The Targaryen Civil War was a conflict over primogeniture. Primogeniture is the system of inheritance by a firstborn child, and more often than not, the firstborn son. This system states that a lord's first child will inherit his castle and lands, regardless of their aptitude for governance in comparison with their siblings. The House of Targaryen was known for following primogeniture. During his reign, King Viserys Targaryen had named his eldest offspring and daughter by his first wife, Rhaenyra, as his heir. Upon his death, however, his eldest son Aegon II of his name, by his second wife, ascended the throne. This led to a great rift in the kingdom. By this time, Rhaenyra was also married to her uncle, the rogue Prince Daemon Targaryen, who had long been after the throne for himself. The kingdom was divided into the Queen's party, who were supporters of Queen Alicent and her son Aegon II of his name, and the party of the princesses, which was comprised of Rhaenyra's defenders. While each side was led by Targaryens, their armies consisted of forces from Lannisters, Starks and other recognizable Game of Thrones houses. Be prepared for battles between offsprings, their spouses, their offsprings, their followers, and obviously the Targaryen dragons. Also, keep an eye out for the supporters on both sides. If there's one thing Game of Thrones fans have learned, it's that nobody is loyal to anyone but themselves. Locations we're likely to see. Since the show is based on the ruling House of Targaryens, it will feature some familiar locations. Much of the drama takes place in Westeros' capital King's Landing and House Targaryen's family home Dragonstone. However, the fighting and bloodshed primarily take place in the Riverlands led by House Tully at River Run, with a majority of the bloodiest battles occurring around the fortress of Harrenhal and the God's Eye. Other locations we will most likely see are House Valerian's family home Driftmark and the Kingdom of Dawn, which was not under Targaryen rule during the Dance of the Dragons. We might also get a look at Old Town, since it was where the Targaryens kept their riches safe during the Civil War. Cast and characters. Like all of Martin's A Song of Ice and Fireworks, and its HBO predecessor Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon also boasts a large ensemble cast. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the cast of House of the Dragon. Paddy Considine as King Viserys Targaryen. Chosen by the Lords of Westeros to succeed the old King Jaehaerys Targaryen at the Great Council at Harrenhal, Viserys is a warm, kind and decent man. He only wishes to carry forward his grandfather's legacy. However, as we've learned from Game of Thrones, good men do not necessarily make for great kings. His death kickstarts a great struggle of succession between his eldest child Rhaenyra, and his firstborn son Aegon II. Olivia Cooke and Emily Carey as Alicent Hightower. Alicent is the daughter of the Hand of the King and the most comely woman in the Seven Kingdoms. Raised close to the king in the Red Keep, she possesses both courtly grace and keen political acumen. She becomes King Viserys' second wife and amasses followers who would see Aegon II crowned king. Her followers were also called the Greens after a green gown she wore to her 5th anniversary tournament. Olivia Cooke plays the older and mature Alicent, while Emily Carey plays a young Alicent Hightower. Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock as Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. King Viserys' firstborn child, Rhaenyra is a pure Valyrian blood dragon rider. She was born to Viserys' first wife Emma Arryn, who died while birthing her second child. When she was young, Rhaenyra was beautiful and beloved by her father, and the people gave her the nickname the Realm's Delight. As she grew older, she became more headstrong, and competed with her ambitious stepmother Alicent for the throne. Her followers were called the Blacks after the red and black gown she wore to the King and Queen's 5th anniversary tournament. Millie Alcock plays Rhaenyra during her Realm's Delight days, while Emma Darcy plays the older Rhaenyra who is fighting for her right to the throne. Matt Smith as Prince Daemon Targaryen. King Viserys' younger brother and heir to the throne, Daemon is a dragon rider who possesses the true blood of the dragon. He is a skilled warrior and a denizen of the disreputable flea bottom establishments. Daemon led the City Watch of King's Landing for a while and is responsible for clothing them in the gold cloaks for which they are infamous in Game of Thrones. He was exiled by King Viserys after rumors of him taking his teenage niece Rhaenyra's virginity spread. Years later, he would marry Rhaenyra, and upon Viserys' death, would crown her queen, leading to the Dance of the Dragons. Daemon was mad, bad and dangerous, playing into the saying, whenever a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin in the air. Rhys Ifans as Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King. Otto Hightower is highly loyal and faithfully serves both his King Viserys and his realm. As the Hand, Otto sees Daemon Targaryen and his position as heir to the throne as the greatest threat to the realm. Eve Best as Princess Rhaenys Valerian. Known as the Queen Who Never Was, Princess Rhaenys was passed over as heir to the throne at the Great Council in favor of her male cousin Viserys. Her experience shapes House Valerian's response to the Dance of the Dragons. Steve Toussaint as Lord Corlys Valerian. Corlys is the Lord of House Valerian, a Valyrian bloodline as old as House Targaryen. He is called the Sea Snake as the most famed nautical adventurer in the history of Westeros. He built his house into a powerful seat even richer than the Lannisters, with the largest navy in the world. Sonoya Mizuno as Mysaria. Mysaria came to Westeros with nothing and was sold more times than she could recall. She served as Daemon's mistress of Whisperers in Flea Bottom. Later, She was impregnated by Daemon but lost the child on a voyage to Lys while escaping King Viserys' anger over Daemon's attempts to give the child a dragon egg per Targaryen custom. Fabian Frankel as Ser Criston Cole. Ser Criston Cole is the common-born son of the steward to the Lord of Blackhaven. He joins the King's Guard and once served as Princess Rhaenyra's sworn shield, but spurned her romantic advances for reasons that still remain unclear in the book. Later, he becomes embroiled in the Targaryen civil war by switching allegiances from Princess Rhaenyra to Queen Alicent Hightower, and her offspring. Ryan Corr as Ser Harwin Breakbones Strong. Said to be the strongest man in the Seven Kingdoms, Ser Harwin is the eldest son of Master of Laws Lionel Strong and heir to Harrenhal. He was Rhaenyra's lover while she was married to Laena Velaryon. He was also rumored to be the father of Rhaenyra's children Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey Velaryon, since all three children had dark hair, while both Laena and Rhaenyra had the signature Targaryen light silver hair. David Horowitz as Grand Maester Mellows. Grand Maester Mellows is a voice of reason, and a trusted advisor to King Viserys. Graham McTavish as Ser Harold Westerling. A paragon of chivalry and honor, Ser Harold has served in the King's Guard since the days of King Jaehaerys. Matthew Needham as Larys Strong. Brought to court by his father, Larys is the younger son of Master of Laws Lionel Strong. Bill Patterson as Lord Lyman Beesbury. Lord Lyman is the Lord of Honeyholt, and Master of Coin on King Viserys' small council. Gavin Spokes as Lord Lionel Strong. Lionel Strong is the Master of Laws to King Viserys and Lord of Harrenhal. He is the father of Larys Strong and the infamous Ser Harwin Breakbones Strong. While this is all we know of the cast, the story has some other notable characters like Ser Laena Velaryon, who was married to his cousin Rhaenyra for a while, his children with Rhaenyra, Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey, Viserys' eldest son Aegon II, and Mushroom, a fool in the courts of Viserys I. While the cast of House of the Dragon has a stellar cast playing intriguing characters, the very nature of the characters creates a challenge the show must overcome. Put simply, House of the Dragon has a cast of main characters that are very unlikable and immoral. This is a significant departure from Game of Thrones, where the flawed and grey characters remained largely sympathetic. Even supposed villains like Jaime Lannister and Sandor Clegane had redeeming qualities. While characters like Daemon and Alicent may be motivated to do terrible things out of love, Cersei Lannister is proof that noble motivations alone do not make for sympathetic characters. In House of the Dragon, the characters' struggle for power will expose us to the highly unflattering moral and personal bankruptcy that accompanies unbridled lust for power. It will be interesting to watch how the show makes up for its lack of sympathetic characters like the likes of Ned Stark, Tyrion Lannister, Jon Snow, and Daenerys Targaryen. Who's running the show? Fans of Game of Thrones might be skeptical about House of the Dragon, considering how they had to witness a groundbreaking and promising show disintegrate in its final lap. While the showrunners of Game of Thrones had run out of source material by the end of Season 5, viewers can rest assured that the story of the Dance of the Dragons has been documented start to finish by George R.R. Martin in his book, Fire and Blood. Moreover, Game of Thrones showrunners D.B. Weiss and David Benioff are not involved with House of the Dragon at all, so viewers need not worry about the fates of their soon-to-be new favorite characters getting terribly derailed. Unlike Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon was created by George R.R. Martin himself, along with writer Ryan Condal, who has taken on the mantle of being the showrunner for the show along with director Miguel Sapochnik. Sapochnik is directing the pilot and a handful of other episodes. This is great news because he is known for directing some of the most acclaimed episodes of Game of Thrones, including Hardhome, The Winds of Winter, The Long Night, and Battle of the Bastards, which have earned him a directing Emmy. Other directors for the series include Claire Kilner, Geeta V. Patel, and Greg Yates. Emmy-winning Game of Thrones composer Ramin Djawadi is also returning to score House of the Dragon. Other possible Game of Thrones spin-offs. It is rumored that HBO is developing multiple shows based in the world created by Martin. One of them is said to be an adaptation of the Tales of Dunk and Egg novellas, while others are prequels based on the House of Valyrian, Princess Nymeria, and the infamous King's Landing slum Flea Bottom. Details about the shows are scarce since all of them are in the beginning stages of production. However, we do have some morsels of information. Bruce Heller is leading the House Valyrian series, which will follow the Sea Snake, Lord Corlys Velaryon, and is currently called 9 Voyages. While not a lot is known about the Flea Bottom series, the show about Princess Nymeria is said to take place well before the events of Game of Thrones, approximately 1,000 years prior. With the working title 10,000 Ships, the series would focus on the legendary warrior queen as she founded the Kingdom of Dawn. Moreover, further down the line, HBO might also pick up an animated Thrones show. While Blois has stressed that the talks with writers and animators have been really embryonic, we still have a lot of Game of Thrones inspired TV to look forward to, and in the meantime, we have House of the Dragon. That was everything we know about the upcoming Game of Thrones prequel House of the Dragon. Are you as excited about the show as we are? Let us know in the comments and stick around for more exciting content.